Hey everyone, welcome to the Slice of Construction podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is Eric Helitzer, the founder and CEO of SubBase. Eric, what's going on?
Hey, Jared. Just another Wednesday. So thanks for having me on.
I'm excited to chat with you. Let's dive right in. First question for you: you run into someone you've never met on the street. They say, "What is SubBase?" What do you tell them?
So the first thing I tell them is we are the most user-friendly tool that's solving for the inefficiencies, lack of visibility, and the manual workflows that subcontractors face today when managing their entire procurement process. It is a long-winded process that we've digitized, and that's usually the elevator pitch that gets people to ask more questions.
And what? Let's talk about this challenge that you're solving. If we can even dive deeper to it, um, how did you first come across this problem and say, I want to create a solution?
Sure. So I'm going to just back up a couple of steps here because this will kind of bring little holistically how I got into this. So I come from a third generation builder family, graduated from the University of Florida, Rinker School of Construction. So big gator here. And when I first graduated, I immediately took a role with the nation's largest specialty trade subcontractor at the time in South Florida, where they were looking to build and expand the ecosystem. The family business just didn't let me come work for them. They were a general contractor that was growing as well, but they wanted me to really get my hands dirty and understand the building process from the ground up, which is typically at the subcontractor level, but more specifically in the concrete shell space where the critical path and the structure is moving fast for any of these new construction high rises. Experienced a phenomenal tenure there, but really started to see the shift in digitizing workflows to help solve a lot of the problems that the field, office, and accounting systems were facing when it came to the workflows of material purchasing. I moved into the GC space in 2014, and the first task I had was to learn how to use a new software that was coming to market called Procore. At the time, Procore still had a blue interface, and I was tasked as a young guy, pretty much out of college, to figure out how to get this implemented into a workflow to help save the company a lot of time and money. And so years gone by, the company saw what we were doing as far as digitizing these workflows, increasing the efficiency of the business, and I started to get inquiries from other people that were in the tech space that wanted to build something bigger. And bigger meaning we wanted to attack a problem that we knew very well, which was at the subcontractor level and how subs today are managing their materials. So as I was building in Doral, it was a very large project for a very large developer. We started building the software internally with a technical advisor of mine who was phenomenal at getting the first lines of code from in his head to actually on in GitHub, and from there iterating on the product as I was still working in construction, and realized every day I was on site watching the foreman come with cardboard boxes of requests for materials that they were snapshotting on their phone, emailing to a project manager being so just overwhelmed, didn't have time to go get pricing, didn't even have time to send a formal order, calling in an order to a vendor delivering to a job site where he didn't really have proof that this is even going to be there at a time or confirmed an order. And then ultimately, back in the accounting phase, we saw the disparate movement of data flow from invoiced pieces of paper that are still coming in to a back office where cost codes were missing, just the inability to see anything visibly from the field to the office and the accounting. And so that's where we started to build what is now SubBase. But we built it from the ground up in South Florida with real contractors first using and piloting it.
And but SubBase aims to bridge that gap between the consumer grade tools and professional construction needs. Can you explain a little bit about how the platform specifically caters to, let's talk about users unfamiliar with technology. One of the common complaints we hear about the construction space, it's not everyone, but it's helping people adopt that new technology. Like, how are you helping them with a user friendly product? Like, how do you get this into their hands?
Yeah, so the first thing that we've done was really figure out the fastest way to implement something new without changing their workflow. So what that means is if you want to get quick adoption and you know that each stakeholder has different pain points or different needs, You have to build a very simple solution up front that doesn't change the way they're doing it today, but offers them a frictionless experience. For example, a lot of the times that we saw in the field, we saw superintendents that were using their iPhone or an email to text in orders that they needed. Instead of having them go and log on to an app, in which case sometimes it would take too long for them to find their name or to actually find the materials they want, we made a frictionless experience up front that didn't require a login, gave them the items that they needed in a very easy to use manner so they can quickly get that request into the office for someone to make a purchase. So understanding the workflow was the first piece, obviously, but making sure that the experience up front was so frictionless that it didn't change the way they were doing it. It just eliminated steps in the process. In addition to that, what we also saw was, we phrase it as a gentle disruption. In construction technology, there is no, move fast and break everything, because what happens there is people lose trust. You don't know the system, the process very well, and it really is hard for people to jump onto a system that is that much of a change. So we slowly implemented into the workflow bits and pieces of artificial intelligence that would slowly eliminate any of the manual entry, for example, of quotes that are coming from your vendors. When a vendor drops a PDF into SubBase, we can utilize artificial intelligence to take out the proper data and match it to what you requested in SubBase. Same with invoice reconciliation. We knew that people were actually looking at line items. We knew that things needed to be paired. So how do you simplify it without changing the way it's been done for 20, 30 years is the secret that we've been able to see. And then the fast implementation and adopting of software. Most people don't have software. They're using Excel, they're using pen and paper, they're using Microsoft Teams chats and file folders. So getting in and implementing very fast to give them fast ROI also solved the problem for them as well.
How are you so how important is customer feedback to you? And then how are you taking that feedback and actually implementing it?
Yeah, customer feedback is the most important thing for us. We have always been, customer obsessed from literally day one. The first order that went out of SubBase, I remember sitting in my office and calling the vendor, calling the person that sent it just to make sure that that was real. We take our customers' feedback, everything. It doesn't matter if a customer calls about, hey man, like the font on this log looks a little bit off to me. Anything that we hear from a customer goes back to our team and we take it seriously, because at the end of the day, that is why the platform has been so successful. It is our background in the industry that we were able to understand how to speak to the customer, how to really explain and iterate on the problems they're having. But customer feedback to us is essential. It's built a lot of the features actually in the platform today were coming from instant user feedback, and we live with our users. We forced ourselves on there as well. If they're using our software, we become part of their team as well.
And given the sensitivity of the material data in construction, can you talk a little bit about maybe the measures that you take to ensure data security and privacy? I know that's a big concern for anyone looking at new solutions in construction and beyond.
Yeah, it's a huge concern for us. And from day one, we wanted to make sure that we had an infrastructure that would be able to support the amount of data flow, and also knowing that the relationships that have been built from the subcontractors and the vendors from day one that existed before SubBase were also kept and kept in siloed. So for us, data is the most important piece that we're touching for subs, and typically it's 40% of their business is that data. So we've taken every security measure you can imagine to make sure that the data is not only concise living inside of SubBase, but also the flow between their vendors and the subcontractors who are using the system, that not only do they have full access to it themselves, but we have tons of protocols on the technical side to make sure that the data moving in and out is 100% accurate. One slip up on any type of data issue on our end is catastrophic for the system.
And one of the things I also wanted to I want to circle to this now is, let's talk about some of the trends in the construction space that you're really focusing in on. I guess, what key trends will shape the future of construction procurement over, let's say, the next decade or so through your lens?
Yeah, so there's a couple. I think the biggest one that we're seeing, obviously, and a lot of people seeing it, is obviously the connectivity between modern systems now going into the legacy system. So we're meeting our clients where they live. Our clients are living in older, let's call it legacy softwares that we're integrating with. So the first one would be connectivity. So making sure that the parts and pieces can be connected. That's a really big piece of our thesis on why we're driving adoption is because we can meet you where you live. We know accounting teams are living in, all these different types of accounting systems. Instead of you changing your way, we're going to meet you there. The other thing that we're seeing is on the artificial intelligence front. Obviously, it's a big buzzword, but it's not just a buzzword in construction, especially in technology for us. It is actually solving for a lot of the manual problems that face, especially in procurement, when it comes to just manual tasks of a workflow. So I think artificial intelligence is only in its first or second inning now. We're going to see a lot more there as it comes to eliminating really manual tasks and automating workflows that don't need, human intervention to put a lot of numbers in places that can be automated, and specifically on the accounting side as well. And the other piece that we see is on the data analytics. I think that a large piece of the material procurement process, like you talked about before, with data privacy and data security, is there is a lot of data moving in silos at construction companies that don't understand not only what they're buying today, but potentially where is material movement going. So combining the connectivity, the data, and the AI is going to allow us eventually to start forecasting where materials will trend, allowing you to make better procurement decisions up front, even if it's last minute consumables. Our biggest thing now is to be more proactive. Buying construction materials over the last 30 years has been very retroactive. There is really not much visibility today, and I think those three are the new keys to what's going to unlock the next generation of construction technology.
As it relates now to SubBase, like what's next for SubBase in terms of maybe product development and market expansion? I know there's probably some stuff that you can't share, but in terms of what you can share, what's next?
Sure. So SubBase is now going national. We started in South Florida, but we've now branched out nationally with some large companies that we're super excited about. But what's next on the product front? We're taking a lot more than just the material purchasing, workflow into SubBase. And what I mean by that is we're actually looking at other pieces of the workflow that are purchased like materials, but maybe not specifically materials. For example, equipment rental. Equipment rental is a big piece of a workflow that is done similar to materials, but it's done in a different sense. You're typically tracking on a monthly basis versus just buying a one-time shot like a consumable, such as 2x4 lumber. We're also getting very much into committed orders. I'm a concrete contractor. I'm committing $10 million worth of concrete to a supplier, and I want to see that draw down, and I want to make sure that I am tracking against a budget in real time, while also moving that data into an accounting system so I can properly forecast my cash flow. Leading into the cash flow piece, we have a lot on reporting, making sure that we can leverage our artificial intelligence to learn too about some of the habits and how you're actually purchasing to make you better informed. And then ultimately, we see SubBase as a dual ecosystem. We are not just building for subcontractors. We have a lot on front, which I can't share yet, but would love to on the vendor side. We have vendors that are living in SubBase today that are loving the experience and want more. And so we're building for vendors because ultimately in construction, purchasing is not just one-sided. It is a two-sided workflow, no matter how you think about it.
What are your favorite parts about going to work and building SubBase every day?
Yeah, so coming from construction, I was always building in the 3D world. So to me, the most favorite part I've had, and I love getting up and even talking to you about this, is we're building something new every day. Every day, we're getting that feedback from users. We're seeing the product usage go into different areas we never even expected, and we're being pulled by our users to build things that, quite frankly, a year or two ago, I would have thought were impossible. But that's really what's exciting, is that we've taken really from scratch an idea and have formed it into a real product. And that product now is growing with phenomenal users. And that's what gets us excited. Seeing the users that are really using the system so much that they want more is really driving us to build more. And what I think is cool about software that I didn't see before I jumped into this space is you can literally build anything. In construction, right? You have a plan, you have your trades, and you really know, hey, we're going to build it. At the end of the day, you're going to look back and you see this phenomenal building. In software, we know where we're going to get to. We have a roadmap, we have a vision. But seeing that vision come alive and even being able to pivot very fast and build from scratch, it's the most exciting thing I've seen, I think, in my career.
Well, I'm excited for you to continue to be building and to continuously, hear updates on where things are at. We would definitely love to have you come back on and update us. Are there any events that you'll be attending in the foreseeable future that you want to maybe point some attention to? Maybe we're at the same ones.
Yeah, so we have a couple events coming up. We have this is in the Miami space. We have the Venture Miami Cafe in end of this month, where we have some great people in the community that are putting together a construction tech network for the construction tech founders, specifically those built out of Miami, can come and really share their stories about how we're changing the built world. We'll be at some of the bigger conferences this year. Obviously, Procore Groundbreak, where our integration with Procore that's been live for a while now is hitting on all cylinders. We'll be at CMIC Connect in Miami, which is another one of our integration partners. But really, we like to do a lot of local network events as well. So we love bringing our subs, vendors in, and having local network events. Those are going to start popping up a little bit more now, but those are like kind of the big events that we have coming up right now.
Wishing you and the team the best of luck, and
For sure.
congrats on a big mission and vision, and look forward to seeing you continue to execute.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. I appreciate it.